So I guess I would just tell myself to remember that and to not be afraid of the things that I wanted to go after, because there's really nothing to be afraid of. Everything can be learned.
What is going on, Next Gen fam? Welcome back to Mentor Momentum with Next Gen HQ. You guys are in for an absolute treat today. We have a beyond special episode and special guest with us today. Despite her young age, she's already a superstar in the entrepreneur world and absolutely crushing it. While completing her PhD in chemical engineering at NYU, she co-founded Sunthetics, which develops easy-to-use electromechanical manufacturing equipment with AI. Her exceptional work as the chief technology officer for the startup has led her to win so many awards, from Global Student Entrepreneur of the Year to Forbes 30 Under 30 and so many more prestigious accolades. She's also recently been featured in a National Geographic documentary, Own the Room, which you can stream now from Disney Plus on your TV, on your phone, on your computer, wherever you get your streaming. But I need to shut up. We have to welcome her to the stage. So Daniela, thank you so much for joining us here on Mentor Momentum.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for the kind words and for having me today. I'm really excited.
Danielle, we are so excited to have you. You're an absolute rock star, superstar. I want to start right away. You know, I'm sure our audience is listening and they're like, oh my gosh, a documentary, an entrepreneur that looks like us, talks like us, acts like us was in a documentary. How do we get that? You know, figuring your own story. And if you can talk a little bit about that experience for you and going through the filming process and being able to share this incredible thing that you've built.
Well, I have to say that for those who are wondering, I feel like I didn't find the documentary. The documentary more or less found me. I joined a competition for entrepreneurs, student entrepreneurs. And then while we were there, you know, we started seeing this filming crew and they were telling us that, you know, they were making this video. It might get to be a documentary, but no one was sure about anything. We didn't know really anything at all. So you know, they started filming us every time we pitched. And I have to say, at least I was panicking. I'm not the kind of person who you know, who's like ready to like say everything in front of the world. But it has been quite an experience. You know, it was a lot of fun. The crew was amazing. And then now that the story is out there, I have to say that I feel like I moved past the panic, because now I just feel very, very blessed that my story and the story of other entrepreneurs is out there. I feel like it really gives us like the shot of hope that we need for the future, especially, you know, after such a challenging year.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you talk to us a little bit about Sunthetics and the mission, the dream, the vision behind starting that for you? Obviously, it seems like it was something you almost stumbled into throughout, you know, your PhD in chemical engineering, which is absolutely crazy, way beyond my pay grade, but we'll save the, you know, chemical engineering questions for another day. But a little bit about your journey and, you know, the drive to, you know, start this incredible organization.
Yes, of course. Well, that one I did think a little bit through. I am originally from Venezuela. You know, if you know a little bit about Venezuela, you'll know that our entire economy depends on the oil industry. So I grew up really wanting to be a chemical engineer and wanting to contribute to that growth in my country. I knew that since I was very little. Now, what happened is that when I was doing my internship for the undergrad, I did it in the oil industry. And I realized that as much as I admired everything they did, because I mean, that industry is just incredible, they didn't have the sustainability push that I was looking for. So I moved to the US to do a PhD in chemical engineering in a group that focused on renewable energies with chemical processes. Yeah. So I just wanted to develop sustainable technologies for this industry. And by doing that, I realized that I wanted to make sure that the technology didn't just stay on a paper, a manuscript somewhere. I wanted it to have a real impact. And that is how I decided to start, you know, doing a little bit of customer discovery, found a co-founder, we co-founded the company and have really fought for its commercialization.
Wow, it's so incredible. And I think, you know, most entrepreneurs are like, how do I come up with the ideas? And, you know, it's something that you've lived your whole life and you're seeing a gap in a space that you're really passionate about and wanting to fill that gap. You know, as you're thinking about this audience that you're speaking to, obviously the next generation audience, renewable energy is something that we're all so focused on and want to keep pushing forward. And what excites you most about the future of renewable energy?
I think what excites me most is that it's a conversation that's everywhere. You know, everyone realizes now that there is no more oh, it would be nice if it were more sustainable. The conversation now is it has to be sustainable. And now it's just up to us to develop the technologies to make that a reality. So I'm excited to see that not just everyone in industry, but also this generation of engineers, we're all with the same mindset of, this industry and the future of our planet is really up to us. It's no longer just thinking, oh, I wish somebody will fix this problem. It's up to us to really fix it.
Absolutely. I want to take a step back and kind of go to the early beginnings of your career. Obviously, you're still very young. It's still very much getting started in your career, which is incredible. But when you think back to that 20-year-old version of yourself, coming out of undergrad, getting out of that, oil industry internship, what's maybe one piece of advice you would give to that version of yourself?
I guess I would tell myself that my grandma is right, because my grandma always used to tell me that, nothing in life is impossible to learn. You never have to be afraid of something that you don't know yet. So if you want to do something that seems crazy, that you don't know anything about, but it's something that really motivates you and is a passion to you, then go for it. Don't be afraid of it. Even the expert on a field, he was at some point not an expert. He also didn't know anything, and he learned. So I guess I would just tell myself to remember that and to not be afraid of the things that I wanted to go after, because there's really nothing to be afraid of. Everything can be learned.
Absolutely. Is there a moment where you remember learning that, like when it came true for you and you were like, oh my gosh, wait, I can be an expert in this myself? Because I think, I think about our audience and they're probably like, okay, yeah, but I'm so scared. Like, how do I, get over that fear and actually dive in and become that expert?
I think it definitely happened when I came to do the PhD. Because a PhD, it's really, you're doing research on something that is unknown. That's the whole point of the PhD, right? Like, you're pushing the boundaries of what is known. So for what you want to accomplish, you just have this great idea, but there is no set plan. There is no one who has tried it before. There is no recipe really for you to get there. And then there is so much failure between the moment where you decide to do something and you actually get the right answer on how to do it, that I feel like, once you realize that you're doing something that nobody has the answer to, but you trust that eventually you will get there.
Yeah.
At that moment, it clicked for me. And I was like, okay, if I can do this here, I can do this in every other aspect of my life. I can also start a business and learn what it is about. I can also go into machine learning, even if it's less of the chemical engineer space, because I can learn it, and so on.
Absolutely. When you thought about picking your co-founder, our audience is thinking about this all the time. How do you pick the right co-founder that complements you, but is not so opposite of you that you guys are fighting every day? What was your criteria and what were you thinking through when you brought on a co-founder to, build this incredible company with you?
Well, Miriam and I, we were friends before we became co-founders. I think that really helps, because then you know the other person and you trust them. I think the two main things that I would look for in a co-founder is, first, it has to be someone that you trust, to tell them how you feel, to really be open if there's something that you're not comfortable with, but then also someone that you believe from the core that is extremely competent. I think your co-founder has to be someone that you trust blindly to also do their job, and know that they're doing their best, and whatever has to be figured out, they can do it. So I'm very grateful, because I feel like Miriam and I, we both came into this journey knowing nothing about business or about machine learning or anything we're doing now. But we always trust each other to figure it out and to do our best to really push the company forward.
Absolutely. I want to dive in even further into Own the Room, which I think is such a cool experience that you got to go through, not only, for yourself, but also on the global scale, getting to meet entrepreneurs from across the world, working on incredible things. Obviously you mentioned that you show up to this event, you're pitching, and there's this film crew around, and you're kind of like, all right, I'm not fully sure, what's going on. Once you realized that you were going to be part of this incredible initiative, what was that experience like, going through the filming process, really becoming, kind of part of this incredible stage alongside what seems like a group of just genius and incredible founders just like yourself?
Well, I have to say that I think that if you have watched the documentary, you realize what a special competition that really was. GSEA, or the Global Student Entrepreneur Awards, is a competition where the entrepreneurs pitch not just their business, but it's also your life story. So it's a lot about the why you do what you do. They completely open up about their challenges or vulnerabilities. And I feel like it's a very powerful thing to do, because when you open up like that, you really connect with people. I feel like when you hear someone get on the stage and hear this incredible story about how much they have had to go through and how much they have overcome, it's impossible to not feel absolute admiration for them and respect, and be really like rooting for everyone around you to succeed. So that competition was so overwhelming. When I was there, I feel like there was very little space in my head to panic about the documentary, because just the competition and the emotions were so strong that, it was like kind of like happening at the same time, but I don't know, too much for one person to handle. So it was, it was a lot on that moment. I do think that now, looking at the documentary and everything, it's incredibly special. They were able to capture such an incredible experience. And I think that they really show the world how entrepreneurship is not really just about making money or, starting a company so that you can be your own boss. No, real entrepreneurship is about fighting for something that you believe in, fighting for something that is going to make a change and is going to solve a real pain, a real need that you see out there. I think that once we realize that and once we follow that path, entrepreneurship can be incredibly powerful to change our world.
Absolutely. And you're talking to the perfect audience about this. I'm resonating with it so deeply to say, yeah, you do have to make money. You do have to figure out the business. But if you can be passionate about what you're working on and you know that it's the right thing, then you can keep pushing through the struggles that come with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. We got a question from our audience. They wanted to ask you about pitching and any tips that you have for pitching your business, going and trying to secure fundraising, anything you have in that realm of being able to go to somebody else and try and explain your business to them and get them to believe in you. Our audience is looking to do this every day and obviously looking up to you as a resource in this space. So any insights you have, tactical tips, or even just stories that would help our audience learn how to better, perform in this field.
Of course. Well, I think I have two main tips that have really helped me. The first one is that I feel like people tend to want to sound smart just for the sake of it. And they think that, by complicating what they're saying, they sound smarter and then people will trust them. I have learned that that's not necessarily the case. The more you get to simplify what you're trying to do, especially when you come from the science background, the more you simplify, the more people understand it. And when they understand it, that's when they get behind you and they support you. So, don't go like trying to pretend that it's something more complex than it isn't. If it's simple, easy to catch, even better. And then the second thing is just to be completely honest. I feel like, we started going to these competitions without the business background and with so many things to figure out, but we never lied about it. Every time we were in a competition, we were the team who would honestly tell the judges, I don't know the answer to your question, but if you let me pass this round for the semifinals, I will have it for you. I will find out what that means. And we were honest about, in our technology, the challenges that we had and what we really had to accomplish. We have had the feedback from many judges and mentors and investors that they appreciate that, because then they feel like when they ask us a question, they know that the answer is honest, that we're not trying to cover something up or just make it sound like something that it isn't. So I would really advise everyone to do something like that. It's easier on you, and then it's just better for the business.
Absolutely. Daniela, you're amazing. And I feel like there has to be things that you're doing in your own day-to-day life, your personal life, that allow you to be this best version of yourself. Are there any life habits that you have or things that you do every day that set you up to be this open, this vulnerable, and this, ability to really be a true leader in the space that you are living in?
Well, I think that something that I learned to do, through the PhD and wanting to start a company at the same time, was that I really need to respect my time. I think that, the busier we are, we tend to even agree to more like events and commitments, and then there's so much work on top of you, and people like, they stop going out with their friends and they stop doing things that they love. I think that that's a mistake, and I learned that, at least for me to function better and to be more efficient, that's what really works. I have the hours during which I work, but then I make sure that I always have time to talk to my family, to talk to my friends, to, well, before COVID, to go out and do something with people, and I'll go outdoors and all of those things. So I would just say, make sure that throughout your day and your weeks, you always make time for what makes you feel healthy and makes you feel okay.
Absolutely. As a founder yourself, I mean, I assume you make the joke. You're like, yeah, you do get so many things on your plate. I mean, you're here with us right now. That's another incredible opportunity, and wanting to take them all. How have you learned how to say no to certain things so that you can continue to do the things that really fill you up in life? Well, that's a really hard one for me, because my personality is that I avoid conflict, and I'm kind of a people pleaser. So that's really tough for me. But again, I have just learned that honesty is the best way to go. When I can't do something, when it's just it feels impossible, it feels like I can't commit to that, I'm honest about it. And then, if with the other person we can find a different time or a different way of doing things, then I'm happy to go that route. But if it's one thing that I can't accomplish, then I have learned that I have to say no. And I read in this magazine the other day, like, we have to remember that no is a full sentence. We don't have to give explanations sometimes behind it. I tend to do it a lot, but it's fair to say no, and we can say no whenever we need to. Absolutely. I love that. No is a full sentence. I think that's an incredible takeaway, and one for me where I'm always like, no, and then you want to explain so that you don't feel as bad about your answer. But I think you're right that the clarity that comes with just being honest and being vulnerable, I think, is so powerful. One thing I love to ask all of our guests is, the people listening, I think, look up to you as somebody that they see has achieved a success that they're looking for. And I always find it's interesting to ask people, what to you is your definition of success, and how are you striving for that every single day?
Well, if I'm absolutely honest, I think that when I was younger, I always used to think that, success was precisely like getting into this list like Forbes and MIT and winning a competition, and kind of like having these things that prove to you that you're doing something good. But then I realized, and now I firmly believe, that success is something that's way deeper, and it has to do only with you. I think that success has to do with just making sure that today you're a better person than you were yesterday. Either because you learned something new, either because you realized something about, your life or the world that matters, either because you helped someone. I think that life is not just about what we accomplish in terms of our companies or the money that we have raised or, our studies. Life is more than that. Life is really being a person who has an impact that goes beyond our lifetime. So I think that the more we do every day something that is just good, plain good for the world, then that is a successful day to me.
Absolutely. As I said, and I'll say it again, Daniela, you're awesome. What else do you want to share with this audience? Anything about the documentary, about the work that you're building, anything about yourself that you think this next generation audience should know?
Well, I guess I'm just going to tell everyone to really go watch the documentary. It is incredibly special. It shows my story, but it also shows the story of other student entrepreneurs who are absolutely amazing. You're going to love the companies that they're building. You're going to fall in love with their stories. And it's just going to show anyone who watches it that our future is in good hands. Because as much, like evil and bad things are happening all the time, which right now feels like even more than usual, we have to remember that there's also good people, and there's also people fighting for an incredible change in our world. So go watch the documentary. I really hope you enjoy it. And I hope that if anyone out there has a crazy idea that they think will never happen, they'll see my story and they'll realize that nothing is impossible and that we can do anything that we set our heads to.
I absolutely love that. Own the Room, out right now on Disney Plus. Go check it out. Watch Daniela. Watch these other incredible entrepreneurs. Daniela, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you here on Mentor Momentum. Thank you so much. Gracias por todo. It has been an absolutely incredible experience.
The pleasure has been mine. Thank you so much.
That was Mentor Momentum, sharing life and business lessons from incredible leaders. Looking for more momentum? Subscribe to our weekly Momentum newsletter at nextgenhq.com and check out our other podcast, Momentum Audio, on any of your favorite podcast channels. Now that's momentum.